Welcome to the world of web development. In this video, we will going to learn fundamentals of HTML elements and how to add images, audio and video, how to use text formatting in using HTML, and how to add external contents in our web pages using iFrames, tables and HTML forms. By the end of this video, we will going to build a blog web page using only HTML without using CSS. Let's get started. HTML, which stands for Hypertext Markup Language. It enables users to create, modify and delete website content. If we compare it to a home, HTML forms the essential skeleton structure. CSS, which stands for Cascading Style Sheet, which used to style, color and appearance of a home. On the other hand, JavaScript functions as provider of functionality such as integrating a fan switch or air conditioner. When we combine these three, you will get a good functioning website. But first, you need to start from HTML. Even in 2024, as ChatGPT provide you with the necessary HTML for your project, it's essential to understand HTML first. Otherwise, you may not be able to validate the response provided by GPT. HTML, often confused as a programming language, is actually a markup language. You might find memes poking fun at this online. Before diving into HTML coding, it's essential to have the necessary tools ready. For editing, you can choose from options like VS Code, Vim or Sublime Text. Here we are going to use VS Code. Additionally, you will need a web browser to preview the HTML content you create. Let's begin. First, install VS Code in your system. You can download and install from official website. So here I'm using Mac. So I download for a Mac OS. So after you download the VS Code, just click the extension tab here and you need to install one extension, live server. So click the live server and install it. I already installed in my VS Code. Next, create an empty folder on your desktop. Name it whatever you want. And open it in VS Code. This will be our workspace for writing HTML code. First, create an index.html. Whatever file you want to be the home page for your website, you want to name that as index.html. When a connection is made to a website without a specific file in the URL, the most server by default serve you the index.html. So in a blank HTML page, the first step is to declare doc type. This instruct browser that we will be utilizing HTML version 5. After the doc type, if just has HTML, then browser consider this as HTML version 5. So the most fundamental tags you will encounter are the HTML. HTML tags should be added within open and close angle brackets, HTML. So now you have to close this with the /HTML. HTML tag encloses the entire HTML document, serving as the root of their HTML document. So inside the HTML, you need to add two tags. So one is the head. Head element represents a collection of metadata for the document. So here we see elements. When we say elements, when we say tags. So tags are nothing more than a keyword surrounded by angle brackets. Within these angle brackets, here head is a tag. So elements is nothing but consist of pair of opening and closing tag along with content between them. Therefore, the whole head pair will be considered as head element. That's where when we say head element represents collection of metadata of the document. And after the head, you need to add body. Body elements contains actual content of the web page, including text, images. The body represents content of the document. So HTML is a root of the document. Head contain metadata, information about the document, and body contain actual content, the content which will display in the browser. Inside the head, you can write a title. It will be the title of your website. So you can give my first website. And inside the body, you just type hello HTML. Now open this in your browser. So right click in the file name and click the open with the live server. So this will create on server inside VS Code and serve the file. So here you can see in the browser there's hello HTML and the title my website is there in the browser tab. This will be the title of the website. To convert this text into a heading of the page, you need to enclose it with h1 tag. h1. So now if I save this, you can see the font size will increase. h1 is a heading tag that represents text with a larger font size compared to other text tags. There are approximately 6 heading tags, each with a different font sizes. Let's observe each one with it displays. Save this. So each headings has different font size, H1 to H6. Next, add a paragraph tag and insert some text. P, paragraph short form P here, sample paragraph. So when you add a paragraph, it appears on a new line and occupies full width, even it contains fewer characters. Basically, it adds blank lines before and after the paragraph tags. Additionally, the paragraph tag removes the extra white spaces within paragraph tag. Let's see if we have multiple white spaces. So it just simply remove everything and it just add only one white space. If you want to include some spaces, then you have to use special character called NBSP. It is for spacing so that you can see the space. Let's say if you want a bigger paragraph tag, in the VS Code, if you type lorem and hit enter, so it will add a bigger paragraph. Let's say there is a BR tag. It is an empty tag. These tags won't need a closing tag. Let's say something like this. So it won't expect the closing tag. So when a tag don't have the closing tag, then that tag considered as an empty tag. So if a tag has opening and closing tag around with content is a container tag. So there are two types. So most of the elements in HTML are container tags. Only few are empty tags. So here the BR is a line break. So if we add a break, so it will make one empty line here. So let's see if we add the line break for here and it will add with a new line. And there are another empty tag is available. Let's say here you have title let's say this is your website name. If you ever need to divide a page section by section, you can add HR tag. HR is nothing but a horizontal line. If you add and save this, so you can see there is a line added. And here I want to separate the heading and paragraph with a line. So it is a heading, it is a paragraph. And you can add comment. Comments information for developers. So you can add comments providing information for developers who are going to view the page. This content won't be rendered in the web browser. This is just information. Let's consider adding URL to our page with a display text as YouTube. How can we achieve this? For this purpose, we utilize anchor tag. The short form is A. Enclose the text with YouTube. Now we need to add a property to the anchor tag. A property is additional information for tag, usually in the form of name value pairs. Here the property name is href, hyperlink reference. The value is the URL we need to provide. So when you save it, you can see the link will appear here. This results in the display of YouTube in blue text, which we can click. However, clicking will replace our page with YouTube page. If we want to open it in a new tab or window, we must add one more property called target. Target, there are 4 values, we need to queue blank. So save it, and now if we click the YouTube, it will open in a new tab. Next, let's explore how to navigate between pages if our website has more than one page. So for that, just create another HTML page named contact.html. So though it is VS Code, just add exclamatory symbol and it will generate a default template for HTML. Add h1. Now go to the index.html, add one breakpoint, add an anchor tag with a relative path in the href attribute to link the contact page. So here start with slash and contact.html. So when you click this, it just go to the contact page. Inside the contact page, you can provide an email address. Let's say contact. Instead of user copying and pasting this email address into their email client, we can make it clickable link by adding a new mail to attribute in the href. Let's say add anchor tag with the mail to colon. So after this colon protocol, you have to give the email address. Email me. So when we click this, so it will open the default email client present in your machine. So what it will do is, so it will automatically take the email id, add it in the to address. In addition to using mail to in the href, there are two more keywords that can be employed for telephone number, maybe mobile number. Let's say, just for sample, we give another one is sms. So the same number you can provide, message me. So it is a call to action button, we say in the browser. So let's add line break for each anchor tag. So these two, tell and sms, particularly useful if a user access the website on a mobile device. So let's just click the call me. So we try to open in the FaceTime in Mac, though it is for calling purpose. So if we click the message me for sms, it just opened the messenger app. You may encounter instances of Wikipedia web pages where links are direct to specific internal headings within the same page, rather than navigating to different pages or website. For example, when we click a link labeled HTML5 on a Wikipedia page, instead of being taken to a separate page, the browser smoothly scroll down to the location of HTML5 heading. Additionally, you may have observed that the browser's URL bar if has followed by HTML_5. Subsequently, if you click on another link, the page will again scroll to corresponding section. Let's say Semantic HTML. So we just scroll down to the Semantic HTML section and the hash URL updated. How can we achieve this? First, in the index HTML, just create some random paragraph. Now below that, so just create one h1 element with, let's say, HTML5 with the id attribute. ID attribute in HTML stands for identifier. It is used to uniquely identify an element within a document. So when an element has ID attribute, it serves as a reference point that can be targeted by other elements such as hyperlinks or JavaScript function. ID should be unique in the whole page. So let's say here HTML5 we added. In the top of the document, just create one anchor tag, include href as has followed by this HTML5 ID. This equal to the ID value. Go to HTML5 section. So when you click this, you just go to the HTML5. You can see in the address bar it has HTML5 added. So in total, there are 6 type of links that can be set using anchor tag. One is external link, another one internal page, that is relative path. In our case, we add a contact.html. Another one, 3 protocols, mail to, tell and SMS, along with the hash name, moving between the same page. Let's integrate an image into our web page. For that, just add one image tag. The image tag is an empty tag, meaning it doesn't have a closing tag. That means so it won't expect something like this. Instead, we use attributes to specify details about the image we want to display. The most important attribute for image is src, which stands for source, and specify the file path or URL of the image. Here we have an image URL copied from Unsplash website. Currently the image is displayed with its actual width and height. If we want to adjust the dimension of the image, we can add 2 additional properties for this purpose. The properties are width 200 is 200 pixel, height 150 pixel. So if we save this, the image dimensions are updated. We can also provide relative path to the source attribute, like one we added for anchor tag. Let's say here we have assets, there we have image for ourselves. Let's say /assets blog image. So the image is updated. So relative path we can give, or the URL, external URL we can give. Additionally, we need to add alt, another one property which provide information about image for screen readers and serves as a fallback if the image is not available. The property name is alt. So this attribute defines alternative text description of the image. Let's see, here we can give polar bear. Let's say I'm just modifying the URL with a wrong value. When image is not available, the alt property values will display in the website. We can also provide title attribute. Which will display a small pop-up when we hover over it. Let's say if we just hover over, so it shows the polar bear and snow near the mouse. Furthermore, we can turn an image into a clickable link by wrapping it with an anchor tag. See, we are adding anchor tag. Here I have on Wikipedia polar bear page. Now just move the image tag inside the anchor. Save it. So when you hover over, you can identify the mouse changed, and when you click this, it moves to the polar bear Wikipedia page. So the image turned into a clickable link now. And supported image formats for browsers like PNG, JPG or JPEG and GIF image. There are new optimized version for images WebP and AVIF, and SVG image also supported for a browser. Let's integrate audio and video into our web page. First, to include audio, we need to add a new tag called audio along with src attribute. In the source attribute, you provide the location of the audio file. Here we have a audio file in our asset folder, audio.mp3. After saving the file and viewing it in the browser, you may not immediately see the audio elements on the page. This is because we haven't enabled controls attribute. The controls attribute is a boolean attribute, meaning that if the property is present, it considered true, otherwise it is false. So it will show the default audio elements, which has play, pause, seek button and volume button. So we can support multiple formats for our audio files such as MP3, .wav and .ogg to ensure compatibility with various browsers. In a case a browser doesn't support particular audio format, we can provide these alternate options also. How can we add this? To achieve this, we utilize source element inside the audio tag along with src and type. So the source, we have to give here the source value and we need to remove it from the audio tag. What will be the audio type? So we have to give here audio mp3. So if the browser doesn't support audio element itself, you can have this fallback information. So if the browser doesn't support, this information will be visible in the browser. Now add video into our page. To add this video, we need to add a video tag along with source attribute. So here we have one video in our assets folder. By default, the video elements rendering is based on its original width and height. For videos, we can provide width and height attributes, especially if the video resolution is large. So here with 400, maybe we can change it to 600. So just like audio, here for video also we can support multiple formats such as MP4, WebM and OGG. So same like audio, we need to add source element inside the video tag, source along with src and type. So here just move this source inside the source element and remove the source from video tag and give the type as video mp4. So same for other types as well. So same, the fallback information also we can provide if the browser doesn't support video element. So for video, there is one more attribute called poster. So poster attributes specify an image to be shown while the video is downloading or until user hits the play button. Similar to how we provide thumbnails on YouTube video, we can include thumbnails for our video using the poster attribute. So let's say here in assets we have one sample image just for a sample. So this thumbnail by default it shows when we click, the thumbnail image gone and video will be played. Both audio and video elements have few common attributes called preload, autoplay, muted and loop. We can control the loading behavior of audio and video using preload attribute, which offers options like auto, metadata and none. So here metadata means it only loads the metadata of that. Here the metadata is the length of the video, and none do not preload any data. So data should only be loaded when the playback starts. So auto means the browser will decide whether we should download the full video or only metadata or none based on the network speed and device capabilities, those things. There are three more properties: autoplay, muted and loop. Autoplay attribute is used in HTML audio and video, will automatically play after page loads successfully. This autoplay attributes of HTML might not work in the latest browser like Google Chrome and other due to strict autoplay policy that aims to improve user experience and prevent website from playing audio video automatically without user consent. Why the autoplay has restriction is one is for bad user experience. Unexpected audio and video can be disruptive, especially on mobile device in a public place. Autoplay media can consume data on limited or metered connections without user consent. And the power drain. Autoplay can drain power on mobile device. But autoplay only works if the media is muted. If we add a muted property, so the volume will be 0 here. So when we just save this, so you can see browser the video automatically plays with the muted. And there is one more property called loop. So when you include loop, the audio or video elements will continuously repeat playing once it finishes. So this is commonly used for background music or ambient sounds on web pages. That's it for audio and video. In our next section, we will look into HTML list. Now let's go through the list in HTML. There are three types of list in HTML: ordered list, unordered list, and description list. So for ordered list, we need to use OL. Order, O is for ordered and L is for list, the short form. So within that OL tag, you have to create a list tag. That short form is LI. To specify list items, here we have HTML, CSS, JS, JavaScript. So by default, the ordered list uses numerical value. If you want to change this type to alphabetical values, Roman numerical, you can set the type attribute in the OL tag. There are 5 values. One is for numerical, capital A is just add and see, so it convert small letter, I for Roman. To create an unordered list, you have to use UL. So U for unordered. Inside the same, you have to create LI tags for list and just save it. Unordered list typically use bullet points to represent each item. If you want to change style, you can go there, add type attributes, and there are 3 values: disk, circle, and square. So this is the disk value. Now you can make it as circle, it becomes circle, and you can make square, and there is a none property, so it just remove everything and just simply show the text. So disk is the default one. You can create nested list by including another UL element inside the LI parent. Let's say for HTML, we can add another one UL and add multiple lists inside that, so that you can see HTML, it has 5 versions. So you can see disk is for parent, circle is for children, it create automatically. And now for the description list. To use description list, you have to create DL tag, description list. Within the DL, you have to create DT. It is a definition term here, HTML, and definition details, tags to provide their corresponding definitions. Let's say for HTML, it is hyper text markup language. Now we add for CSS and JavaScript as well. So the definition, HTML definition, CSS definition, and JavaScript. DL commonly used for glossaries or dictionaries, which defines terms and its definition. So totally 3 type of list you can provide for HTML. So this part we will going to learn about text formatting in HTML. Text formatting allows for versatile presentation style to enhance the readability and visual appeal of content. Here we have number of paragraphs. To emphasize important words in the following paragraph, we can use different types of tags. Let's say here for bold, we can wrap this to B. B is for bold, maybe to emphasize the strong character, or you can use strong also, both used for make the text bold. So here you can see text is bold. Now for italic, you can use I is for italic. Now the text change to italic style. Now for underline, you can use U tag. U is for underline. So the text is underlined now. Del is utilized to display deleted or strike through text. Let's say del tag. So offering a visual cue for revisions or changes within a content. For mathematical or scientific content, the superscript or subscript tag will be used. So for make it as a square, so you can use superscript. The short form tag is sup superscript. So now they just copy and replace it for a square and b square also. Now you can see for log 12, the 12 will come into the below of the log. So how can we represent this? Using the subscript. So you can see the log 12 now. Additionally, you want to highlight one text and drawing attention to the key point. There you can use mark tag. Just notice this one. So it will add a yellow background for the text. So it's a key point, it just draw attention to the user. So instead of adding the double quotes here, there you can wrap this HTML within a Q code. So the Q tag nearly encapsulates a quoted material. So there are one more text formatting tag. It's for block quote. So let's say block quote. So block quote is an HTML element used to indicate that a section of text is quoted from another source. Let's see how it displays. So it has with indentation and it's centered. So it's commonly used to highlight a quotation or excerpts from external text within the same page. So in our next section we will discuss about HTML table. So in this section we try to build a table like the one shown in the browser. So it has my orders. There are a lot of multiple orders and along with totals. So a table consists of rows and columns. To start with the table, we need to create a table element. So a table consists of rows and columns. In HTML, rows are defined by the tr tag. However, the columns in the HTML use as table data instead of table columns. It won't use table. We won't have TC. So here we have TD. It's a table data, and TD represents data cell in the table. So there are 5 columns here: order number, item, count, payment, and price. Let's just add this one by one. So let's open this page in our browser. So a table with the 5 columns, 5 cell data actually. So after adding this first row, so we need to fill it the remaining rows. So there are nearly 3 orders. So here order number 115, count is 1, payment type is cash on delivery, price is 999. So now just open this page in the browser. So there we can see our table. So here the first row, it is not a bold and centered. The first row of every table serves as a header. If we want the first row to be the header row, then just change the TD to TH. Just save it. You can see the order number itself change with the bold and centered. So just apply for all. So now you can distinguish between the column header and each row values. You can set the background color for a table using BG color property in the table tag. Here you give black. You just hide everything. So for each row we can give the same BG color, white. So the same we can apply it for all the. So you can center the table using the align property. and align center. So the table is now in the center. There is two more property for the table. It's called cell padding. Yep. Cell padding is an attribute that specify amount of space between the content of a cell. So it's content of the cell and its border. So there is a cell spacing. Cell spacing is an attribute used to control amount of space between the cells. So here, so for this case we don't need cell spacing, so we just removing this. Yep. If you wish to display a total price of this order details, you can add one more row. Total is here, we can give bg color white. Here you can see one problem. This cell containing the word total should span across 4 columns. To span across 4 columns, you need to utilize call span attribute within the td tag. So there is, for the table data tag, you have to add column span. It's a call span. So here we need to give 4. So though it is a total value, instead of table data you can use header kind of styling, you can apply it. So it will become center and bold text. Same for column span, you can use row span also. Let's say for the payment type here, both rows using cash on delivery. So you can merge these two rows as well. So let's see, second cash on delivery. So here you can use row span as 2. So the next corresponding row should not have that value. So you can mention this. Cash on delivery, 2 rows are merged. To enhance the readability of the table and 8 screen readers distinguish between the header and body of the table and the footer of the table. So for header you can wrap it with the t head. So t head stand for table header, used to group the header content of a table. And for body, there's just copy the table data, all the values, and wrap it with the t body and have it t body. So t body stands for table body, contains the main content of the table excluding the header and footer. So in our case this is header, this is the table data main body, so this is the footer. So just wrap it with the t foot and add the table footer here. T foot stand for table footer. It is used to group the footer content of the table, which is typically contains summary or footer information like totals, average. So in this way the table has more readability, which is header, which is body, which is foot. This structuring helps provide semantic clarity to assertive technologies, making it easier for users to navigate and understand the content of the table. This approach allows you to create table with rows and columns, customize headers, and adjust the appearance of the table using HTML alone. If you want to add map locations or any interesting tweets or YouTube videos or Google ads or advertisement to your website, then you need to use iFrame in your application. The iFrame, which stands for inline frames. In HTML, iFrame elements are used to embed and isolate third-party content within a web page. To create an iFrame, you have to create iFrame tag along with source attribute. So the source should contain the URL of the third-party website. Here I have Google Map URL, so I'm pasting the URL and just save it and open in the new live server. So here, by default, iFrames have a border which can be removed by adding a new property called frame border equal to 0. Now if we save it, so the border will be removed. And you can also specify width and height of the iframe to control its dimension. Let's say here width is 400 pixel, height is 400 pixel. Yep. So let's add a YouTube video on our page. So for that, just add iframe along with source. I have a YouTube embed URL. I paste the URL here. So now the video is loaded. Let's play the YouTube video. Now you can see you can't view the video in a full screen mode, so it says full screen unavailable. For that, you need to add one boolean property called allow full screen. Now save it and you can see the full screen button enabled now. While iFrame can be handy for embedding external content into your web page, they come with some security and privacy risk. They can be exploited by the hackers using techniques like iframe injection, hijacking, and cross-site scripting attack. So to address this concern, iframe have one more property called sandbox. If you didn't add any value, so this will be the strict sandbox for iframe. By default, this property applies strict restrictions to prevent malicious activities. So if you say this, you cannot even view the YouTube video because it just disable the JavaScript within the iframe. So YouTube need JavaScript execution permission to show the video. However, if you trust a source of the iframe, let's say in this case YouTube, you can relax some of these restrictions by adding attributes like here for this scenario it is allow script. So JavaScript will be allowed here and allow same origin policy. So if you enable, you can see the video. If statements. So the sandbox has these many features you can enable using this sandbox attribute. But for beginners, diving into all the available security best practices might be overwhelming. However, simply adding the sandbox attribute to iframe, if you are not sure about the external application you are going to embed, then that will significantly enhance the security of your application without complicating matter too much. And just carefully use the iframe whenever you're going to add this in your application. So far, we have focused on presenting information in various formats. However, if we want to collect data from users as input, you will need to utilize forms and input elements. So here now we are going to create a simple sign-in form. For that, you need to create form tag which will serve as a container for various input elements. Begin by creating an input tag within the form. This tag doesn't require a closing tag, empty tag actually. Inside the input tag, add a property called type. In HTML, multiple input types available. So here in this case, we are going to use text. So when saving this will generate a simple text box on the empty page. So you can use placeholder property to specify what information the text box requires from user. Add enter username. Next, include a text label called username before the input tag. So and save it. So here, just notice when I click the text, nothing happens. Instead of just a text, use a label tag within that and add the text within the label tag. So this tab requires a for attribute, which the value should match the input tag's ID value. So here I'm giving in ID as username. So same name we have to give for the for. So whenever we utilize input element, it's advisable to accompany it with a label. This ensures when user clicks the label, corresponding input field will be selected or focused automatically. Let's see, when I click the label, so the input tag selected. So now add line breaks. Now here for sign in, we need password text field, right? Create a input tag, type as password, and same like a username, I just add a placeholder and add ID value. So the password, if a type is password, then if you add text, it won't be visible. Now add label for the input. For is equal to the ID value. Now same add line breaks. Now we need to create two buttons. One is for sign in and one is for reset. So for reset, input type as reset. So this will create one button with the reset title. Create input type as submit along with the value as sign in. So this will create one sign in button. So what the reset button will do? Reset button used to clear all input values within the form. So let's say here I'm adding values. When we click reset, so just clear all the values. This submit button is used to send data to the server. For this we need to add an action property in the form. So this action property will require an API URL. So here I have one bin.org. So here I gave one API URL. So when a form is submitted, the browser collects all input data within the form and sends to the URL specified in the action prop attribute as a HTTP request. So now fill the username test, password as test. Simply click the sign in button. You will notice that no arguments are being sent to the server. Here the arguments are empty. This is because we haven't add name property for each input element. So here add name, username, and same for password. Just add name equal to password. Now just go back to the sign in page and save this. Now just fill the test, password also a test. So now you can see the name used to identify the form data. So how the form takes the value and send it to the server is using the name value. If you give a name value, that respective name will be used the server API value. So you can see the name it is used to identify the form data. You may add one more text box below in the username box. So you may notice in few websites expecting username or email. So here we are going to create one input, type as email. So the same necessary properties we will add for the email also. Email placeholder and the respective label also will add for the ID value is name. Now add a line break. So what the type email is, so this will automatically validate the email format. So here they are asking us please include at in the email address. So if we add at and just type the exact email format, then it will be sent. So here we have email and password value. Here we are going to build another form, which is a form for job application. So the job application should collect applicants' first name, last name, email and gender along with date of birth and address along with country. And though it is a job application, we need resume. And finally, two checkboxes for accept terms and conditions and send me future job post. Create a form tag along with action property with API URL. Create text boxes for user first name, last name with its respective labels, ID values. So here first name labels and its text input, and last name with the text input, and then create email box with its respective labels. So the email, type as email, placeholder ID. Now save this. You can see three text boxes. So after the email we need gender and date of birth. So after the email, for gender just create two radio buttons. Input type as radio. So value label we need to add male, same for female, and we need to create ID to match the for name here. So upon inspecting the browser, you may notice that the radio buttons can be selected simultaneously. I mean both radio buttons we can able to select. However, in our scenario we require the user to choose either a male or a female. To accomplish this, we must assign a common value for name attribute. So here name equal to gender. So this will groups them together to allow only one selection at a time. So now it is a radio button group. So because it has same name, so then it will allow us to select either any of one value. That is the radio buttons behavior. If it has different names and it considers a different radio button group. So just add gender. Now add breakpoints and ask for date of birth. So for date of birth you need to add input types as date and add a label for date of birth. This date input type allow user to select date from this date picker, or user can manually input the data as a specified format. So they can type and choose the value and add breakpoint. Now we need to add address and country. For address, we need to provide a larger text box with multiple rows and columns. For that, we need to use text area. So the text area, we need to add rows as 3. So if you are increasing, so this rows will increase. So in our address case, we need 3 rows enough. And add a label, create id values called address, and here name as. So though we missed to add a name property for date of birth, so birthday, so that the server will receive the value as birthday. So address we added. No. For country selection, we need to utilize a select tag. Just simply adding the empty tag will generate a drop down menu without any options. You cannot see any options here. To populate the options, you need to insert option tag within the select tag. So each option should have a value attribute. Here the country name I am specified India, so the same, the display name for option need to give India. So now you can see there is one option, so you can add multiple value. So now we can see. So by default the first option is selected, but this is not the expected behavior. User should actively choose a country. To address this, we need to create one default option titled as select country. So we leave the value as empty option and here select country with attributes as disabled. So user should not select this and make it as selected by default. So disabled and selected, so that you can see now the default value is select your country, but you cannot choose that value. That means here the value is empty. So you can come here and choose the value. So here add a label, id country, name country. Now this job application form expecting user resume file. For this purpose, we need to create input tag with a type as file. So if you select this, you can see there is a button for choose file. By default, file allows us to select all types of file. In this job application use case, we need to accept only PDF or MS Word, the doc and docx. For that, we need to add accept property and add the file extension like PDF, docx. And now you save it, just click the choose file. Now you cannot able to choose the images, so it only accept the PDF and doc. To add label for this, resume, add id, name, add a breakpoint. We create input tag with type as checkbox. We need 2 checkboxes along with the label, terms and condition, and another label is subscribe email. So add id. So now only 2 checkboxes. Now give the value. And the last value is send me future post job. Now create submit button and reset button. Reset. Now just fill a random value. Email. So though we didn't choose for file format, just so the radio button value and the date type and address value. So whenever a form has a file format, so here in the form we need to add one more property called encrypt, which will add the multi-part form data. So otherwise you cannot able to upload a file within the form. There are other input types also available, such as the type as search box and types as URL. So search box is nothing but the same text input box, but there is some other extra option, like when you type value there is a clear button will come, so you can clear it. And URL is same like email validations. When you add a value here, so that should match the URL, otherwise it throw error, which I am just adding a sample value, and here I am sending submit. It just validated that it is not a URL format and ask please enter URL. And for numbers, input type as number, just number text box, you cannot enter any text here. And range is nothing but, let's say you know the start and end value, so within the range user has to select, means you can add the range. And for date time there are a lot of value. Till now we use only date. Now there is a date time local. Along with the date there is a timer also there, or you can have only time, type as time, or you can choose only month, a specific year month. You can choose any week, type as a year week. And there is another one is color picker. So here you can ask the user to choose a desired color. So those are the extra input. This will expand possibilities within HTML forms. Now just have a look into this web page design. Do you understand what this page has? There are a lot of div elements one by one and aside. It is hard to figure out by looking into this design, right? By simply examining the div tags, it's not immediately apparent what information this web page is providing. Now let's look into this design, which is built around meaningful tags like header, navigation, article, main, and aside and footer. Now you can understand this is kind of a blog application. So there article, section, header, navigation. Now compare these two designs. Only divs and span elements here, and on the right side it has meaningful tags. So in HTML, elements are categorized into two things: non-semantic elements and semantic elements. The semantic element clearly describes its meaning for both browser and the developer. So the semantic elements are header, h1, heading, paragraph, nav, form, table, footer, articles. So all these things has meaningful name as a tag. On the other hand, non-semantic elements relies on generic tags like div and span to structure content without conveying any specific meaning. While div and span elements are manipulated extensively using the CSS and the JavaScript, they do not provide any inherent semantic value to the content they contain. In summary, using semantically meaningful HTML elements improves accessibility, search engine optimization, and code maintainability by providing clear structure and meaning to the content. So conversely, relying too heavily on non-semantic elements can result in code that is less understandable, less accessible, and harder to maintain. So it is important to prioritize the use of semantically meaningful elements whenever possible to ensure the clarity and the integrity of the content. Here you will find a blog post page representing our final project integrating all the HTML concept we have learned. Feel free to pause the video and attempt to implement yourself, or I can guide you through the process. So the blog page contains page title, and this will be the blog title, publisher information, image, and actual blog content. And for each blog you will have the user's comment section, and this will be the footer. So establish basic HTML structure. So here header, actual main content, and the footer. So just add header and main content. So main tag represents the main content of the document. Usually it will help screen readers and other assistive technologies to identify and navigate the main content of the web page more easily. It should only be used once per page to encapsulate main content. Then finally we have a footer. Within the header tag, insert h1, display site name. So the site name is time coding here, and here the block. So just open, right click and open in the live server. Our header created, and add one horizontal line. Header is over now. Inside the main tag, create an article tag and a section for comments. Within this article, just create one center tag which will make the content center. This one includes the blog title, subtitle and publisher information, and with the blog image. Inside the h1 tag, just add the title of the blog. So if we want this one quoted, so add quote and quoted. Then add subheading using h4. So how to build HTML only blogging site, so without using CSS. That will be the subtitle for our blog. So inside that pre tag, add published by the time coding at. So add the date, let's say here 14 March 2024. So make the user bold, emphasize as bold. So add strong into this, so it's become. For the date, just add italic. Yeah, published by time. So next, add image. So this will be represent the blog. Actually we have one image within assets. So just add width 400. So after this information, just add one section. This section will hold the blog content. Let's say here anchor tag, just adding. So p, a sample paragraph lorem. So let's say if we need unordered list, anything, then so looks like a unique one. Maybe add another subheading. So add ordered list. So same thing for, so blog content added. So with multiple paragraphs, order list and headings. So inside the article there is a center and a section. So the center to actually make this content center of the web page. So article part is completed. Now we move into the comment section. So before moving into the comment section, just add horizontal line between article and the comments. So now inside add one comments heading, h1 comments. Then now here we need to give one text area where the users can post comments. So for that, create a form just for sample API. So this one is posting comments. So there is a HTTP method we need to add. There are three types of methods: get, post and dialog. So here we are going to use post. Inside the form, create text area, give command 50, give 5. So then create submit button which used to post the method. So text area and post. So there is a field set element. This element is used to group set of elements inside the form and create a border around it. So let's see. So create a border and used to group. For field set we have one legend tag we can add. So this used as a caption for the fields, the group of fields. Let's say here comment. So you can see the legend added in the border itself. Now add a section which has list of comments. So now I have one sample comment. So inside the paragraph tag, so the user name in the strong bold and the comment and the user tags. So we can highlight if any user tag the publisher, author of the blog, then we can make this as mark and add the publisher can see someone who is tagging us. Now add few more comments. So the comments are completed now. Now we are going with the footer. So before that, just add a horizontal line between the main and footer. In the footer we actually have few links, the home, about, carriers, those things. So add links for just add, and just add other links as well. Carrier, you can see the footer. Now we need to add the copyright information. Yep. Now footer is in the left side. Just to make everything is a center, though, just wrap everything around the center tag. Yep. So for just we add a heading, the title of the web page, and blog title, subtitle, and blog content, and the comments, and at the same time the footer. Thank you for watching the complete HTML tutorial video. I hope you gained a valuable insights into HTML. You can build a sample projects using HTML by yourself. Our next video will cover CSS. Stay tuned and subscribe to our channel, and thank you.